Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva.
Coming to Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi and his teachings, I was also looking into a lot of things. I was associated for a very long time with Osho's teachings, and then Ramakrishna Mission, which does the Advaitic teachings, the Ramakrishna Mission. And in Melbourne, there was Chinmayananda, and that were also, I was associated with them. And I think it's your journey what really matches your frequency. And when I went through Bhagwan's teachings, it's something like, buck stops here.
Yes,
You-
yes, yes.
It is something, and look, it's not that other teachings are not right, but it depends how you take them, and that's why there are so many paths, and no path is right or wrong.
Mm, mm.
No.
Yes, I love what you said about the matching frequencies, because I think there's just so much to be said about that just on its own. It's a wonderful sort of topic, is actually tuning into the same frequency. And Teo and I were discussing that just before, and we were, it's a good way of actually framing it, the frequencies. Like, I like your frequency, and I like Mooji's frequency, and sitting in, the sort of like umbrella of the Maharshi, so Ramana Maharshi. So I just think it all sort of nestles in together really nicely for me personally. That sits really well.
And
Yeah.
look, here I can add here something very beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I never listened to Mooji before I met him. Can you believe? So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I never
Yeah.
ever before, I knew there was a Advaitic teacher by name Mooji, that's all. And when I went to Lisbon
Yes.
for a medical conference, and I was just looking what else can I do in Portugal, and I was there for 5-6 nights.
Yes.
And I just came across this place known as Monte Sahaja.
Yes.
And I thought I should just check it out. And I found, Mooji lives here, and and he's a teacher, and I sent him a request, not to him but to the organization, that I would like to visit, and they didn't reply to me, and I thought okay, whatever. And then after a week, when I was at the airport, I checked my phone, and there was an email, sorry, we didn't reply because we are just back from India, from Rishikesh, after 6 weeks of satsang. And my conference was towards end of March. So, they said it's a quiet time, we are not doing anything, no satsangs. But if you want to visit, you are most welcome, but you have to find your own arrangement to stay and whatever you want to do. And then I checked it out. It was one of the remotest place. Like, it was known as an area known as Alentejo. Alentejo is considered the place where nothing happens, and I really liked. And this is the saying of the Portuguese tourism: nothing happens.
Yeah.
And I thought it's beautiful if it's nothing happens there, And so they sent me couple of addresses. I booked my trip. I took a train, and there was a very small village known as Funcheira where I went, and from there a guy picked me, showed me a place, and my place of my stay was a old stable which they converted into a, you can say like a small studio.
Yes, yes.
And there was no toilet or anything. He said they are up the hill and you can stay here. And there was a log wood. And I said, is there anyone else staying here? He said, no, it's just you. And then if you want to stay where other people are, then you have to come up the hill. There are some caravans. And I thought, no, I'll stay here, in that forest. And I stayed there. And then I went and met Mooji Ji.
Wow.
And that's a long story if I come to that, and I'm talking to you because you just said that your frequency matches with me and Mooji Ji, and when I met him, just his presence was enough. His presence did everything. His presence did everything. And then I went back to my conference because I had a paper to publish and a paper to report. I did that, came back, and then I stayed another 3 days there with him, and it was not the teaching, but it was just his presence, which was amazing.
Just sitting in
just
his
with him.
presence.
Yeah.
Yes, we were planning to go there last October.
Okay.
October this year, actually. Sorry, October coming. But we haven't been able to because everything's been closed down. But it is something in our hearts to go and spend some time there when it's possible. The time will come when it works,
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not worried. It'll happen, unfold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's all about the frequency, anyhow. And thank you very, very much for taking the time out and just talking to us about that. I appreciate that. And it might come up in one of your satsangs about frequency. Something might come to you. Who knows?
Look, when we talk about this frequency, this is an amazing thing. And I'll tell you the whole idea about frequency is we just try to bring our frequency close to what the self within us is. I take this thing that there is a frequency on which a person is vibrating. When he is too much in ego self, the frequency is different. And when he is in his awareness mode, the vibrational frequency of the body is different. And when you are seeking for that vibration and you come across a sage, a saint, a person which you are seeking, it elevates your own vibrational level. And that is the beauty. If you look into the places like where, Buddha was there, or recently I can give you my example. I went to Rishikesh and there is a Yoga Vashishta cave. So, you might have heard about the Yoga Vashishta book written by Yoga Vashishta, which is a beautiful Advaitic text. I would really recommend everyone to read it. And you go into that cave, Yoga Vashishta Gufa, the cave, and you would have never heard that type of silence. When I'm saying never heard, like it is a beautiful silence. And when was Yoga Vashishta? Few thousand years back. And still that place has its vibration. And you go to the pilgrimages, you go to Arunachala, you go to Ramana Maharshi Ashram, you sit in the meditation hall, and that vibration is still there. So that individual body is not there, but the vibration is still there. And it elevates our own vibration. And same thing happens in Satsang when we all sit together in that awareness. Our frequency changes immediately to that self. And that individual in us, the ego identity, it just dissolves in it. So even Bhagwan said the importance of satsang is more than anything else. Your meditation, your japa, yoga, reading scriptures, right action, they all are good in their own way. But a company of sage or company of truth-seeking spiritual seekers has a different power, and it makes you move very, very fast on your spiritual path. If you have listened to David Godman, he was with Papaji, he was with Nisargadatta Maharaj for a time, he was with another saint who lives close to Ramana Ashram, an enlightened soul, Lakshman Swami. And he said, my progress was so fast when I was just in their company rather than doing my own sadhana. And same thing happened with Bhagwan in his presence. People who were just sitting there in silence were immediately elevated to an increased vibrational level, and their mind were dissolved. And if you ask Bhagwan, like people said to Bhagwan that you don't preach, you don't go, he said sitting on a stage and preaching is not the preacher's job, or it's not the only way. He said, I'm preaching all the time, and my preaching is more powerful because it's silence. I'm using the purest preaching possible. And he was quite true, He made more disciples, more devotees than anyone else, though didn't say any word, So this is the beauty of a satsang, beauty of a sage, beauty of a realized being. Because your frequency just goes up. That's why we always say my frequency doesn't match this person, or I don't like this person. Or we use the word vibes. I'm getting good vibes from this person or bad vibes. So vibes, frequency, aura, vibration, this is all coming out from that same source we all have. And we all can tune into it. We just have to be in our own silence.